Think for yourself. Question authority.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Now we got a lot to discuss in this video, including Metroid Dread information and next-gen Switch 2 talk by Nintendo and Furukawa, and a leak that looks like it could be connected to that next-gen Switch coming in the not too distant future. But first of all, I want to give you an update on what I've been up to in the past few weeks here. I've been very busy on the live channel, so definitely you should subscribe to that. We're only about 20 or so subs away from reaching our first goal of hitting the 500 subscriber mark on the live channel. And when that happens, I'll be giving away a $50 Amazon gift card to a subscriber to the live channel when we reach that number. And then I'll be giving away 2 Amazon gift cards when we reach 1,000, both for $50 to anyone who subscribed to the live channel. So definitely check that out. We're having a lot of fun over there. Every weekend I'm streaming on that live channel, and it's extremely high quality stuff. I think you guys will really like it, especially if you're a Metroid fan. We're doing Metroid streams every Saturday, plus a different game on Sundays. Also, on top of that, I've started another YouTube channel called TQR, which is basically going to be my sci-fi / TV movie review discussion channel. So if you want to check that out, you definitely can. I'll leave a link in the description. And I just posted a video of my review retrospective of The Empire Strikes Back, the 1980 edition. So definitely, if you're a fan of Star Wars and you like that type of content, check that out. It's a really interesting discussion. So getting back to Nintendo and next-gen Switch. Now, Furukawa has been talking about this next-gen Switch for the past few, different financial meetings. Even for the past couple of years, Nintendo has been talking about their plans for the next console. Many people thought it was going to be a Switch Pro. And of course, on this channel, we've been talking about not a Switch Pro since about 2019. And yet again, Furukawa pretty much confirms that there is no Switch Pro here in his investor meeting discussion that he just had when Nintendo released their financial results. He's talking about next-gen Switch and concerns over how Nintendo is going to go about converting or bringing over everyone who has a Nintendo Switch to the new platform. And they said it's a major concern. Then he went on to discuss how they're going to do that, though, to the investors and their questions. They said that they plan on using the Nintendo account to the fullest degree in order to bring those adopters, which is over 100 million now, playing the Nintendo Switch, over to their next-gen console. And they keep talking about this next-gen console every single time. They talk about how they're working on cutting-edge technology. They talked about that back in 2021 and even before that for this next Switch that they're going to bring out. And then to cap that all off, he was asked, Furukawa that is, directly on if Nintendo was going to release a new Switch model in this fiscal year, which would be from 2022 to March of 2023, right? And Furukawa, surprise, surprise, maybe not so surprising, declined to answer the comment. And on top of that, he's now discussing all these plans for next gen during this time frame right after they announced their Nintendo Switch sales, which may be not such a coincidence that they did drop year over year by 20%. In fiscal year 2021, the Switch consoles, all the family consoles, sold 28.8 million, which is one of the highest, if not the highest, for a Nintendo console in their history. Now, in this year, at the end of their report for fiscal year 2022, the Nintendo Switch family consoles decreased and only sold, it's still quite a lot, but they sold 23 or so. So investors are wondering what is going on. When is Nintendo going to release their next system? They keep asking every single time because they're seeing decreases in sales. Now, I understand that Nintendo has gone on record and said that there's part shortages and things like that. So from 2021 to 2022, which is now, personally, I have not seen any issue with actually going out and buying a Switch if you really wanted one. So as far as a supply concern is for the Switch itself, I'm not talking about other devices, basically like the PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, GPUs for PC and things like that. The Switch itself hasn't really seen that much of an impact in regards of being production or part supply limited, because it's still selling quite a bit of units, over 23 million. Now, a good example of a console that is extremely supply limited or having production issues is the PlayStation 5. And that was proven by Sony themselves by actually providing the numbers. They had projected over 14 million to be sold, which is quite low actually, 14 million for their fiscal year for the PlayStation 5. But due to those part supply issues, they only could produce and sell 11.5 million, which was 3 million less than what they expected. Now, that is a console that is extremely popular. People want that thing, and you can't find it anywhere because they simply can't make those consoles fast enough. Compare that to the Switch. Switch is selling quite a bit of consoles still, and Nintendo's able to produce them. So the drop in sales by 5.8 million included the sales of the Switch OLED because it sold just under 6 million. So it's very interesting to see that Nintendo released that new console last year and they still sold almost 6 million less than the previous fiscal year, and they sold 3 million less than their projected 26 million for the fiscal year 2022. So no doubt this is part of the reason why Furukawa continues to talk about next gen each and every time he has these investors meetings, because investors are wondering what is going on with Nintendo's future. All they care about is the future of Nintendo. Now keep that in mind as well, that as soon as Nintendo announces and releases their next gen Switch, it's going to be a very quick turnaround, meaning that they're going to announce it and then probably a few months later, 4 to 6 months later, they're going to release that new system, and it's going to be selling like hotcakes yet again. It's all going to come down to production yet again for their next gen Switch. But that of course doesn't mean, as Furukawa brought out to the investors, that the current Switch is going to go anywhere. He talked about how they already have games announced for 2023, and they're going to continue to support the current Nintendo Switch as we go forward. So releasing a next-gen Switch, I believe, is going to be very similar to what Sony did with the PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4. PlayStation 4 hasn't gone anywhere, has it? Still getting games up until now at least. And as soon as Sony ramps up their production of PlayStation 5, which they had plans to obviously do, they said they're going to be doing so in their investors meeting, then we can probably see PlayStation 4 finally start really dying in 2023, which would be 3 years after the release of the PlayStation 5. So now for Nintendo is actually the best time there is to release a next-gen Switch, or have the idea or the plan or announcement to do so, because it then ramps them up for that transition period. It's going to take a few years or so in between where they have a next-gen Switch and the OG Switch on the store shelves together, while they fade that one out and bring in the new one while more production ramps up for the next-gen Switch, or that time the Switch 2. The current gen Switch would be solely faded away. So I do think that would take a few years, and Nintendo's already seen that drop in sales. I don't think they're going to just let it drop completely or have that kind of an issue where they don't have something else already there to pick up the slack and still produce the same exact numbers that they're already producing. I do think this next-gen Switch could in fact be released in this current fiscal year due to Furukawa's own words there in denial to talk about it, basically to pick up those extra numbers and to keep them going exactly where they are. And I do think they're going to be charging, of course, more money for the next-gen Switch, which is most likely going to be around $399 is my guess. And why do I say that? Well, there was a leak today of a price drop for the original Nintendo Switch in the United States. And keep in mind that this was reported by IGN, and 3 major retailers all slashed the price of the original Nintendo Switch by $40 from $299 to $259.99, all at the same time this morning on May 11th, 2022. Right around the same time all these sites are reporting about Nintendo's plans for next gen. It's quite possible that these retailers got information about a lowered price for the Nintendo Switch and all dropped them, and they may have jumped the gun on an early announcement here that Nintendo may have been planning for maybe a month or a couple months down the line to actually lower the price of the current Nintendo Switch, because maybe they are getting ready to make space for a next-gen Switch. We'll have to wait and see, right? And like we said, according to the information here from Furukawa, this looks like this could be the case. So it was reported by IGN that Amazon, Walmart, and GameStop all simultaneously dropped the price of the Nintendo Switch original model to $259 this morning. Then a few hours later, they all corrected it and put it back to its $299 price. And I reported this and took a screenshot of it on Twitter. I actually went to GameStop myself and I put it in there, and I could actually buy the Switch for $259.99 for a short period of time, and then GameStop did correct it and bring it back to the original price. So it's very, very suspect here. I do think that may have been an early leak. A lot of times retailers get information from these companies months in advance about planned price drops, and this looks like it could be the case for the Nintendo Switch. Obviously, they will want to sell more of those consoles as time goes forward, and further incentive to do so to kind of spike up the sales back up to where they want to be would be to lower the price, and also to align it better with an introduction of a next-gen Switch. And like I said, like a $399 Switch, and then lowering the price of the Switch OLED to $299, then having the $259 Nintendo Switch OG and $199 Switch Lite, you have a breadth of Switch consoles for a vast amount of people to purchase there. And we've talked about before, and I'm sure we could agree that the $349.99 Switch OLED may have been a little bit too expensive there, and the $299 price point and a full replacement of the original Switch model with the OLED may be the way Nintendo wants to go, putting a $100 price gap between the next gen Switch and the Switch OLED, which may be where we're heading here with this leaked price cut of the Nintendo Switch to $259.99. It's something we really should watch out for going forward. Will Nintendo actually announce that price drop in the next couple months? We'll have to wait and see, but it's pretty exciting to see that because the talk lines up with that leak, actually, when you think about it. And the way Furukawa was being a little fishy there and hiding the information, of course, like he always does, but he doesn't want to comment on releasing a new Switch in this fiscal year. And in the past, they flat out denied it, and now he just doesn't want to even talk about it. But he doesn't want to talk about next gen, he just doesn't want to talk about when they're going to release it. That kind of tells you all you need to know a little bit there, right? You would think. We'll have to wait and see, right? But great news though, Metroid Dread. Metroid Dread is now the highest, biggest selling Metroid game in the history of the Metroid franchise. 2.9 million copies have sold. It just needs 100,000 more to reach that magical 3 million number that everyone's talking about. And it will get there. We can pretty much guarantee it. It's not going to completely stop selling all of a sudden after just 6 months of reporting. So remember, that report is at March 31st, 2022, which is just around 6 months or so after the game released. I do expect that for its first year on the market, it will have passed 3 million copies sold, which again makes it the highest selling Metroid game ever, just passing Metroid Prime 1 on the GameCube, which sold 2.84 million copies, which was great at the time because the GameCube was only a 22 million console sold system. So Metroid Dread, congrats to that game. Definitely buy it if you haven't bought it already. I have a full live stream playthrough of Metroid Dread on this channel before I started my live channel. In fact, that was the last live stream I did on this main channel, was the live streaming of the full game of Metroid Dread to 100% completion. So if you haven't checked that out, definitely do so. We had a lot of fun. But that's of course when I started my live channel after that, and we started that Metroid Prime series. Definitely check that out too. We're not done with Metroid by any means. I got more Metroid content coming. Another Metroid Prime 4 videos is already in the works as well. So that's a little preview for you there. So congrats to Metroid Dread, and congrats to Metroid in general, because that means the future is looking really good for Metroid. It's looking really good for Nintendo. Things are looking really good for everything. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit the like button. I'll talk to you very soon. Take care.